What if the Bible doesn't start the way that you think? Most of us have heard this story like this. God made a perfect world, humans ruined it, and then the rest of the Bible is about getting back to perfection. I mean, that's the version I grew up believing. But there's a problem with that story, a big one. It puts the spotlight in the wrong place. And if we're not careful, it leads us to miss the whole point of why we're here. Because Genesis 1, it never says God made a perfect world. It says He made a good one. And that one word difference, it changes everything about how we see ourselves, how we understand Jesus, and where the story of the Bible is headed. Here's the problem with perfect. When we think perfect, we usually think finished, like no flaws, no gaps, nothing left to do. A museum behind glass, you look, but you don't touch. And it's beautiful, sure, but lifeless. It's made to be admired, not inhabited. And if creation began like that, then humanity's purpose was simply just to enjoy and not mess things up. Like something you would tell a small child in a store, you can look, but don't break anything. But that's not the world that Genesis 1 describes. Because God, He didn't create a world that was finished. He created a world that was ready for life, ready for growth, ready for partnership. That difference between finished and ready, it shifts everything. It changes how we see our role in the story, how we understand Jesus, and what our future really looks like. Genesis 1, it repeats this one line like a drumbeat, and God saw that it was good. The Hebrew word is tov, not flawless, but fitting, fruitful, working as it's intended. Good, it means doing what it was made to do. I think of a newly built house. The walls, they're straight, the foundation, it's solid, everything's in place, it's beautiful, it's ready, but it's not a home. Not yet. You see, a home is what happens when life moves in, when laughter echoes through the halls, when meals are shared, when love and presence fill the rooms. That's Genesis 1. The house of creation is built. There's light and land and everything's in place. But God doesn't say to the humans, don't touch anything. No, He says, be fruitful, fill the earth, rule it with me. In other words, guys, move in, bring this house to life. And then we catch Genesis 2 and it zooms in and shows us one of the rooms, the garden. It's like moving into one finished room while the rest of the house still needs to be finished up and put together. The garden, it was that room. It wasn't the whole goal, it was the starting place. It was a model for the rest of the build. God fills it with beauty and order and His own presence. And then He turns to the humans and He says, okay, you see this? This is the theme we're going with. Take what's here, my life, my presence, my goodness, carry it out into the rest of the house. Make it look like this. Their job, it was simply to guard the room and then extend it out, to take what God started and continue the work. But that's where things broke down because they didn't protect the space and they didn't carry the life into the rest of the world. It wasn't a fall from perfection. It was a failure to finish the house. And the partnership, it fractured. And the project, it stalled. And that's one of the reasons Jesus steps into the story. He's not just a rescuer. He's the human that we were supposed to be. He is the Genesis 1 human that we've never seen before. The living picture of what God can do through a human who is fully aligned and yielded to Him. But Jesus, He didn't just show us what it looks like. Through His life and death and resurrection, Jesus made it possible for us to become the Genesis 1 humans we were always created and meant to be. The house that was left unfinished in Genesis, and now has a builder again. And He's inviting us back onto the job site. Through His Spirit, Jesus draws us into the work of renewing the world, of turning God's house back into a home. And He's not just restoring Eden. He's finishing what Eden began, uniting heaven and earth fully, filling creation again with the presence of God. That's the kind of good the Bible is aiming for. Not just what we had, but what we were always meant to become.